So, we're going to look at four different stories coming out of Europe today. On the surface, they seem to have nothing to do with each other. You've got a security crisis, a huge economic gamble, a big fight over online privacy, and a really strange currency move. But what if they're not separate at all? What if they're all cracks appearing in the same foundation? Let's dig in.
Wow. Just let that quote sink in for a second. This is the kind of line that should make everyone just stop and pay attention. And look, this isn't from some obscure corner of the internet. This is the mainstream thinking across Europe right now. The whole continent has this new sense of anxiety. And when you look closer, it's not hard to see why.
So, the first major crack is that Transatlantic Security Alliance. For 80 years, this was the absolute bedrock of European stability. And now, Washington isn't just gently stepping back. They are, well, pretty aggressively pulling away from their role as Europe's protector. And you're probably asking, okay, but why? This slide really gets to the heart of it. America's focus has just completely shifted. You've got the ongoing talks about Ukraine's future, a whole new dynamic with Russia, and maybe the biggest piece of all, a major turn inward, focusing on its own domestic issues. It all points in one direction. The old deal where America guarantees Europe's security, it's over. And this right here is the question that is causing an absolute panic in Brussels. It's kicking off these frantic, almost desperate debates about strategic autonomy, which is just a fancy way of asking if Europe can finally stand on its own 2 feet. They've talked about this for years, but it was always a what if. Well, it's not a what if anymore. This is real. Now let's pivot to the second crack, because it's directly connected, the economy. With that security blanket suddenly gone, Europe is placing this enormous, continent-sized bet that one country can pull everyone out of economic stagnation, and that country is Germany. We're talking about 1 trillion euros. That's a 1 with 12 zeros. It's just a staggering amount of money. The idea is to completely overhaul infrastructure and defense. And get this, the continent's entire hope for economic growth in 2026 is basically pinned on this one single plan. Talk about pressure. And of course, the debate around this is fierce. On one hand, supporters are calling it a new Marshall Plan, the start of a European renaissance. But on the other hand, critics are calling it a trillion-euro debt bomb, terrified it's all going to be wasted on social programs instead of fixing the deep structural problems. And here's the scariest part. There is no plan B. This is it. European productivity has been lagging for a long, long time. So this isn't just some new policy. It's a Hail Mary pass. And if that pass falls incomplete, the political chaos that would follow could be immense. Okay, on to the third crack. This one moves from the huge geopolitical and economic stage right down to the personal level. While Europe is dealing with all these external pressures, a massive internal battle is brewing over digital freedom. It's all about a proposal for a mandatory digital ID. Let's be really clear about what this means. This isn't just about proving your age to buy something. The proposal is that every single person in the EU would need a verified government-issued digital ID just to log into places like X, Facebook, or Instagram. No more pseudonyms, no more online anonymity. Period. Now, the official reasons they give, of course, sound pretty noble. It's all being framed as a way to protect kids, to fight misinformation, to stop online bullies. And look, those are real problems for sure. But the solution being proposed is radical. Because here's the trade-off. The price for that safety could be total surveillance. It can mean the end of anonymous speech online, a principle that's been a cornerstone of free expression for centuries. It's what protects whistleblowers, political dissidents, anyone who needs to speak out without fear of retaliation. And that brings us to the fourth and final crack, which honestly might be the most surreal of them all. At the exact moment Europe is facing all this instability, it's actually pushing ahead with expansion. The main story here is Bulgaria, which is on track to join the Eurozone. So on paper, it's sold as a milestone, a great moment for European integration. But in reality, Bulgaria is in a deep, deep political crisis. People are describing it as borderline ungovernable. They could be facing their 8th election in just 4 years. That's not a functioning government. That's a system in constant crisis. So you just have to ask, is this reckless? Is the European Union so desperate to project this image of moving forward that it's willing to absorb a deeply unstable country into its single currency? You're not just adding a country, you're potentially importing all of that instability right into the heart of the Eurozone. Okay, so let's tie this all together. These four things, the security panic, the economic Hail Mary, the digital crackdown, and this risky expansion, they're not four separate stories.
They are all symptoms of a single profound identity crisis.
Just look at the chain of events here. The American security blanket gets yanked away, which creates a vacuum. In response, Europe throws €1 trillion at the economy to try and forge its own strength. Internally, it moves toward more control, trading freedom for a feeling of security. And externally, it pushes for expansion to look confident, even when it's incredibly risky. So the big takeaway is this. The foundational pillars that held up post-war Europe for decades are crumbling. The certainty of American protection, the promise of steady economic growth, the trust people had in their institutions, all of that is being questioned at the exact same time.
And that leaves us with the ultimate question for the entire continent. Are these high-stakes, reactive moves going to forge a new, stronger, independent European identity? Or are they just papering over the cracks before the whole structure begins to fragment under all this pressure? The answer isn't clear, but one thing is for sure, we are watching it play out right now.